design, dual springs, single valve springs, big valve heads, stock heads, single port heads. We've covered engine cases, particulars with flywheels. Now I'm going to kind of go into carburetors and kind of give you some ideas on carburation and such. Things that my personal preferences. I was talking about CC and cylinder heads, and I'm not going to do one today, but it's something that I do. This is the little kit that I use. These pieces of plastic go into the inside of the head, and then you take this syringe, and I use Marvel Mistral because I like the smell of it. It smells good. A lot of people use transmission fluid. I just like to have something I can see, and Marvel Mistral is pretty good stuff, and it's thin enough that you can put it in there and do what you need to with it. But those are really three very key important things to put one of these engines together, along with rocker arm geometry. Cam and cylinder head, what you pick for those two items is very important too. Again, I've built tons of engines. I've built tons of performance engines. There's things that work and there's things that don't work. And I've had people come to me and say, well, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, and I want this. And I go, okay, well, the 3 out of those 5, I'm not doing it. And they're like, well, why? I said, I don't care what you read. It's not going to work for your situation. So the thing is everybody wants an engine that's going to make their bus go good, push the car around, make it go fast, whatever they're after. And there's nothing wrong with that. The thing is there's a lot of people out there that will sell you whatever you ask for. I'm not that guy. I like to build stuff and put it together where you're going to be happy with it. I'm going to be happy with it. When you're happy, you're not going to be telling everybody how sorry a dog I am because I sold you a bunch of stuff. And that's what happens a lot of times with this stuff. But I've never had any issues. I've had a couple engines come back. It was defect in parts. And I fixed it and charged the customer a dime to pull the engines, flip the cases, go through the whole process of repair it. So, I stand behind my work or what I do. Now, these engines, I will say this. One of these performance engines is put into an application like a drag car. I'm not warranting it. Don't touch that with a 10-foot pole because it's going to break. It's not if, it's going to. And that's just the way it works. So, I'm warranty my work, my labor, but to a point. But most of the time when you go in for that application, you're guaranteed it's going to work. It's just going to happen. Weakest link in that system is what's going to go first. It's usually a transaction. But yeah, so I'm trying to think about any other things. I want to talk about carburation, various situations. Everybody, I get all of this. I've got people who will come to me. I built a little 1776, beautiful little car that went in. It's probably one of the neatest engines I've built. Powder coated tin, show car engine all the way through. We did black button head Allen screws on the engine. The engine just pops when you look at the car, and it's pretty. It's just a pretty car. Pretty engine, pretty car. We did 1776, and we're going to do a single Impey Weber clone carburetor. We got all that in. The difference in price between the Weber or the Impey clone carburetor, the Impey clone Weber carburetor, and the Weber was like $400 for this. That much. I think a single Weber with manifold and everything's like $800-900 is what retail is. Okay. That same clone in the Impey is like $450, $475. Is there differences in those carburetors? You'll see all kinds of stuff online. The Webers are still being manufactured pretty good. I have yet to get a Weber across my bench in here, and I take them apart when they're brand new. I don't put them on the car. I have to jet them. I get them in here. I take them apart before they go on. Come out of the box. They go on my bench. I take them apart. I put jets in them. I check float levels, all that stuff. Then they go in the car. So I've done it with both. Do I see differences in manufacturing flaws? I don't know that I've seen a manufacturing flaw in either one of the carburetors. So to say the difference is one says Impey on and the other one says Weber. Impey copied the Weber carburetor. Is what they did to the T. So, and they've made I think their Gen 4 carburetor now is even different than the Weber's. They changed some jetting designs on it to stop the problem with idle airs plugging up with dirt, those kind of things going on with those carburetors that they're notorious for, and they will, and they do. They make a there's an upgrade to those carburetors that you put draft tubes up through the top of the carburetor that keeps that dirt from falling down in there and plugging those idle air passages, which will cause that carburetor to go lean. And if they go lean, you get all kinds of crazy stuff. That car will pop and backfire and try to blow the bumper off. And again, your carburetors, you're going to start getting into some of these problems that you can see. Um, it's not a bad deal. I mean, they sound great. When you got a set of dual Webers or dual Yankees on one of those engines, man, they sound good, and they do, and they run good. But they have to be tuned. And if you don't have somebody, or you're not knowledgeable enough on building one of those carburetors or tuning them or setting them up, you're going to get yourself into a whole mess of stuff, and you'll never be happy. You'll be so frustrated. It'll always be the carburetor's fault. The carburetor only knows to do a couple of things: takes fuel in and puts fuel out. That's all it does. It's not a computer. And that's if you understand how that principle is supposed to operate for your particular application, then you can't have any problem. And there's been a ton of carburetors come across my bench. Oh, they're just junk. Wasn't nothing wrong with them, but they didn't have the right jets in them, or they didn't have the right accelerator jet in them. It's little tiny things. Solex carburetors. These Solex carburetors. This is PIC 34. This carburetor is what they put on most of the bigger Volkswagen engines, the stock Volkswagen engines, what you see wrong. These carburetors can be jetted and run on a pretty good size engine if you got the right jets. You can change main jet and you can change idle air jet. So those two things can be changed. These can run on a big engine. I have not put one on a 1915. I have not put one of these on a 1915, but I've got a 1915 coming up. He wants to keep it a stock look. So we're going to jet one of these and see if we can't get it to run on a 1915, which I think we probably will. So it's a great little carburetor. There's not a whole lot that goes wrong with them. The biggest thing that goes wrong with these is there's a check ball down in there that operates the accelerator pump. And it's a check valve. It's just a little BB. It's not accessible unless you have the tool to pull the plug out of the bottom of the float bowl, and then it's accessible. That's usually what goes wrong with these carburetors. I've got close to 100 of these carburetors over there that I guarantee it, every one of them, that's what's wrong with the carburetors. And they're like brand new other ones. But that's why they come off the car, somebody put a kid in them, put them to work. And you don't know that unless you know you got some old factory manuals somewhere in your cabinets that tell you about those parts in those carburetors. So that's another thing you get into with these carburetors is the jetting and additional adjustments. They're very specific on how they adjust and how they operate. And most people, there's two screws on these Solex carburetors. They've got a fuel and an air. The lower screw is an air mixture screw. These two are very contingent upon each other. They're also very contingent upon the throttle position. And that throttle position, a lot of people think that's an idle screw. That is not the idle screw on these carburetors. It has nothing to do with the idle. What that has to do with is your cold enrichment. That's all that screw does. But people will screw that thing in or out, and what that ends up doing, these carburetors have a primary and secondary circuit. When that throttle gets to a point, that throttle plug gets to a point inside that carburetor, it transitions from the idle circuit to the main circuit. The main circuit is designed for a lot of fuel in the engine. It's going fast, going down the road fast. It doesn't like that at idle. And you'll create yourself all kinds. I've seen guys bring one of these bring a car to me, one of these carburetors on, and they've got this thing screwed all the way in. The first thing I have to do is take everything back to the and start back. And a lot of times they'll pull it up out here and it'll be slobbering, not flooding, running rich, burning your eyes. Get over there and make two adjustments and they're like, reach over there and turn the ignition off. Just touch the starter, it fires up and off. That car's never started like that. What I say is timing and the way you got your carburetor. Granted, you can have other problems. You have low compression. All those other things are plain to that. But these carburetors are pretty bulletproof carburetors. Again, most of the thing that goes wrong with these is that check ball accelerator pump. 9 times out of 10, when you get in hesitation on these carburetors, you got a carburetor in, you get hesitation. first thing it's probably going to be is that accelerator constant. If you're not getting enough squirt in that engine, it's not going to transition from the idle circuit to the main circuit without a little help. They will have a little help there. So again, that's an important train of thought. Timing plays into a lot of this also. An engine of that caliber, hard to say what the timing will set up at. It won't be 7 degrees. I can guarantee you that engine will not time at 7 degrees. Some of these W100 cam engines stock don't time at 7 degrees. It all plays into all the other variables that go into it. What cylinder head you have, what carburation you're running, all those things play into the keys of that. You can put too much timing into one of these engines and you end up running hot and you'll burn it up. See that happen too. They'll run hot on you if you run too much timing. You haven't paid us too much. So that's a whole other thing we can get into as well. This is a single barrel Solex. This is actually an empty. This empty clone Solex carburetor. One thing that's neat about what empty's done, see that? That's a threaded fitting. That's never going to fall out of that carburetor and catch your car on fire.
That's nice.
That's what they've done. They've done that. They've done some little things to these carburetors that's made it nice. I still like the old Solex carburetors. I usually take and put a different fitting in here, not quite as rough a barb on it, but it's a threaded fitting that I do with the Solexes I've got on the shelf over there. So I build these carburetors too. So my wife's bus has actually got I think it's a pick 30 on her bus, a single port. It may be a 34. But I just recently rebuilt it for her. And she just touches the starter. Everybody says, the time she takes the bus somewhere and does something or whatever, somebody goes, I've never seen one that doesn't start like that. And they should. You should be able to tap the starter and it fire up. Part of that too has to do with ignition systems. This here is, and this is one I've got a part that's actually being built. But this is the famed Weber carburetor right here. This is the Weber. This is the 44. And I mean, I've got pieces now because I've actually got a part over here. It's in process. I mean, I haven't put it back together yet, but it's been, I'm rebuilding it. There's a lot of differences in these carburetors. You've got a lot of jets that you can change. You've got idle airs. You've got air corrections. You've got tons of stuff that you can dial these carburetors. Like I was telling somebody earlier today, I had a friend of mine at a street rod had a flathead pig motor and he wanted 40 Webers on it. And we set them up and dialed them in and run on that street rod engine. And he won all kinds of it just on the engine because nobody had that magnitude of carburation underneath. Took us a little bit to get them jetted, but you got to go. But each cylinder got a throat to itself, so what we did. But to see 4 of these sitting on top of an engine and working in sync is pretty cool. See 2 of them working in sync is pretty cool. We did some back in the early 80s, working more commission shop. We had a lot of 911 Porsches come in and they'd want to yank the fuel injection off of them. We put the triple Weber on. And I did a bunch of those too, converted a lot of those fuel injected 911 motors over to Webers. And sound pretty sweet too. But again, like I said, these are great carburetors and they're pretty bulletproof. But again, dual carburetors, when people come to me and want an engine built, if they want duals, I'll put them on there. But I explain to them from the get-go, if you don't feel comfortable with making adjustments on these carburetors, you probably go with single Weber. Single Weber, you only got 2 screws to mess with. You got 2 of these on there, you got 4 screws. And inevitably, somebody gets in there and they start yanking it. That's the thing they tell you. The throttle plate screw, I have to turn is all you should ever have to change that. But people will get in there and they'll run that thing in or run that. I have to turn. Maybe no more than a quarter to a half. So all that ever should have to do. Because these carburetors for jetting correctly, you know how one of them zooms down where you almost just count it firing the cylinders. That my rail motor up there, it'll idle down to about 450, 500 RPM with a single. It's got a single Weber. I've opened the throats on the carburetor and a bunch of stuff done that single Weber, but it runs pretty good. It'll idle down pretty high. But that's the thing about these. These are very tunable carburetors. And I don't recommend somebody that doesn't have some knowledge on carburation and stuff to go with duals. On a bug, almost impossible to get to adjust. A lot of people will cut the windows out to get in there. I've got the tools to get to them. I charge more to work on them than bugs. I just do that because I've got small hands, but I 9 times out of 10 tear my hands up working on them every time I work. I've got little tools just to get in there and take the nuts loose on the manifolds. But if I have to do much to the carburetors, I pull the carburetors plumb off the car. I ain't messing with the car. So there's some drawbacks to that. Now on a bus, you got some room. You can work on the bus, and that's not a bad thing. That's a pretty good deal. I also like the Weber degas carburetor, which it's a dual throat, two barrel progressive type carburetor. They work really well. My 1915 or my 1914 in that little single cab's got one of those carburetors on. And I don't know that putting one of these would make me much difference at all, because that engine, I can drive that truck will run 100 miles an hour if I don't drive it that fast. I don't drive it that fast. But it don't like to stop, so the drum brakes all the way. So it's not fun. But anyway, that's kind of the deal with carburation. I'm not saying any direction's the right or wrong way to go, but again, if you don't have a little bit of knowledge on how these things work and operate, and none of them come jetted. I don't care what they tell you. You buy a set of they've already got the jets in them for your engine block. No, they don't. So just buy a set of these. I've had guys buy sets, put them on their car, and never could get them to run. You call me up and go. And they didn't buy the carburetors from me because I was told them, you're gonna have to jet those carburetors. And then so I said, I said, well, why? I can't get them running right. I said, well, you need to jet them. Well, I don't even know when to start. I said, well, they sent them to me and said they were jetted. I said, yeah, they got jets in them. That's what they mean when they're jetted. The jets are installed. It doesn't mean they're the right jets. And I've got a commercial account with Worldpac, Redline Weber. I can call my guy and tell him what engine I'm going to put a set of carburetors on. It still doesn't guarantee he's going to send me those carburetors to the right jets. So, guaranteed, more than likely, you're going to have to jet these carburetors. Even a single carb, you're going to have to jet. And 9 times out of 10, they get all these carburetors in. Okay? Most of them come in dual configuration, which means they have smaller jets in them than is required for a single carburetor operation. Buy the single carburetor, and you'll open that carburetor, and guess what? It'll be one of those dual carburetors with the smaller jets in it, just specifically set up for a dual carburetor application. I have yet to take one apart that wouldn't that way. So you have to change the jets. If you're going to run one of these in a single carburetor application, you're going to have to change the jets. It's not going to run with jets. You can try it. I mean, I've seen people do it. And then they'll go, well, the same one, I don't know, or whatever. And I'm like, did you put no? You got to do it. So that's another thing that's important. Understanding what you got. Somebody wants dual jets on the or dual Webers on the I'll do them. And I'm guaranteeing that the shop is going to run great. You know, is it going to continue to run great? No. We live in Oklahoma. Temperatures change. You drive it very much. You get some dirt around those carburetors. There's things that you're going to have to deal with on these carburetors. So, is it like your fuel injected Chevrolet motor now? It's not everything. So, but I can get them tuned and make them run pretty good. I can send them pretty good. I've had a lot of people come in and I do a lot of engine work, but I also do other stuff too, electrical and all that. But these carburetors, I started building carburetors. The first carburetor I opened up, I was 13 years old, and it was on my dad's '73 Chevrolet pickup. It was a quad-jet carburetor, Rochester Quad. And that carburetor ran great after I put it back together. Did I know a whole lot about them at that time? But it gave me I wanted to learn more. So through my process of mechanic, through the years, I've been to GM school, Rochester Carburetor School. I've been to Holly's schools, and it's funny because a lot of the things transition between the brands and models of carburetors. They're all still the same. You want to get more fuel in the carburetor, you also have to put that same amount of air in there to equalize and balance out. So you get to a point through some of the carburetors you can't do that. So, but Weber's are absolutely some of the most tunable carburetors you can get. So, and that's a 44. They make a 40. That's a 44. Um, and this is a 48 IDA. Now that's not the biggest they make. They make a 51. And I think JC probably has one that's a 50. I can't remember. It's big. It's a big one. It's a drag car carburetor. I don't think you can run it on anything. I mean, it's got probably, I think it's got 3/8 or no. Number 8 fuel line running to it. Number 8, AN8 fuel line running to it. But that is a 48 IDA Weber. And those are about the size of pop cans. About the size of pop cans. But you can see how much difference there is in those two carburetors. A lot of difference. And I see guys with street motors running these on a street car. And you can jet these down. Probably. I've never seen one on a 1600, but I'm sure you could jet one down pretty tight to make it grind. Is it a waste of carburetor? Probably. I don't even know what a set of these. These are Italian Webers. You can't get these anymore. I don't know what a set of these new costs. They're probably 1,200 piece, maybe. I think a piece. I think so. Not a pair. Like I said, they're great carburetors, but there is a lot of moving parts on them that you wouldn't think. Not nearly as many as you would think, but there is some moving parts on them too. But that kind of gives you a comparison, contrast to what those two carburetors look like. I do not have an e-gas. Let me see. Well, I think I've got an e-gas carburetor here. I don't have one handy. I can show you what an e-gas looks like. It's very similar. It's a 2-barrel. It's a progressive 2-barrel Weber carburetor. The Impey makes a clone of it. They call it the Impey's an e-gas. The Weber's a d-gas. So if you had to change the name a little bit to keep Weber from keeping the gas. That's wonderful. That works great. No, that's actually a Zenith carburetor. Okay. And that's what they used to put on the 356 Porsche. That's Porsche. That's a Porsche carburetor. That's what's on there. Got a Porsche distributor in that engine too. That's another carburetor. That's a 2-barrel. It's not progressive. It's a 2-barrel carburetor, and you can still get parts for them. It's a little harder to get. They still run a leather fuel pump diaphragm in them. So if the car sits for any amount of time, you don't get any fuel squirt until you get some fuel back up there around that leather fuel pump diaphragm. So I don't know if anybody even makes a silicone or a Vicon diaphragm for those, because every time I buy a kit, it still comes back with a new leather diaphragm for the fuel pump. So they're somewhat tunable carburetor. Jets for them were real hard to find. I had, back when I first built this Sandcar engine, I had a Zenith carburetor on it that I ran, and I bought a bunch of jets up, and I had extra parts and all that stuff. And then that kind of went away, and everything died out. And I took that whole box of parts and just threw them in the trash. And now I wish I had them back because they're worth a lot of money now. Guys will pay stupid money for jets for them. So, but anyway, distributors, vacuum advanced distributors, points distributors, 009 distributors. You can get into the gamut of distributors. Talk about those a little bit too. And I'm going to show you this one because this is a pretty cool setup. It's basically very similar to the this is real similar to a GMHEI distributor. Very simple. It's cool remote coil, but it's got a coil almost verbatim, looks like a GMHEI coil remote mount. These are great distributors of electronic. the biggest thing you get into, and it's weird because I've got a buddy. I don't have a machine. That's one of the things I wish I had was a sugar machine. He's got a sugar machine down in Texas, and he can take any of those sugars. This one, even new ones, even new sugars. He can put them on the machine, and 9 times out of 10, that sugar is not going to work. It's just nature of the beast. Maybe they got some little springs and the counterweights on the shaft. There's a bunch of stuff that goes into that. So you can create problems with the distributor that will lead you to every other kind of thing in your engine that you think is something else, but it's really a distributor problem. So that's another situation. These distributors are really hard to run on a single carburetor because of the space that they have. So you're kind of limited on that. Now I love, IMPI makes an electronic distributor. I predominantly put an electronic distributor in everything I know. I've got the distributor out there on my Baja. It is electronic, but it's not an IMPI distributor. It's a kit. It's an electronics kit that does the kit distributor, that pusher distributor. I like the electronic distributors because they don't take hardly any fire to fire. They work really well. You do not have points to wear out. Now, granted, the downfall to them, if you reverse the wires on them, you're going to blow that module right up and pop that whole effective stuff. It's real easy to do. Or if you pull a plug out, pull a wire off, and not put it on the spark plug and ground it, and let it fire through the spark plug, ground it, you'll knock that module out too. So there's things about those that you have to realize. Or if you look at them up backwards, I've had people take an engine out of here, have 3 hours on the engine stand running. They get it in their car and they're like, well, my mechanic system distributor. And I said, let me guess, he wired that distributor up backwards. You don't even think about that. I'll ask you. Sometimes they tell the truth and sometimes they don't. But it's real easy to do. So it's just 2 wires and we'll knock the module out. We'll knock that all that out, I'm sure. So do I like points? I grew up adjusting points. I grew up adjusting Chevrolet unit points. Anybody remembers those? You had that flexible screwdriver with the Allen wrench on the end of it, and you put your dwell meter on there, and you twist that thing around until you got the perfect idle, the perfect RPM out of those points. 32 degrees. There you go. There it is. There it is. So that's the thing about it. I've adjusted a lot of points, and actually the last performance build I did, the guy specifically wanted points in his early distributor, cast iron distributor. He put it on this engine, Volkswagen cast iron distributor. He said, I want points. And I'm like, okay, you sure? Yeah, I want points. I said, all right, we'll put your points in. He had to order them in from somewhere because it's for that early distributor, like a pre-55 distributor. That's what it was. And he had trouble finding points. Finally found points, but we got points. And it ran great, ran fine. But the thing is with that, to me, 2 more mechanical parts moving, and electronic, there's no moving parts. It's all electronic. So there's some good points. And there's a lot of people say, I've never run an electronic system on a vehicle. Well, it's okay. Do they produce as much fire? No, probably not. Can you get as much spark out of it? No, probably not. But one thing they will do for you is they'll allow you to burn fuel better, make the engine a little more efficient, and man, they start on game time. Because that fire is instantaneous. It's not having to roll to a bunch of mechanical points and set of contacts there that's got some resistance in them. So it works pretty good. Trying to think of what else. Fuel pumps. These carburetors, Volkswagen, the stock fuel pump produces about 2.5 psi. That's all you need. What do you think a set of dual 44 Webers need? You think they need about 10 pounds of fuel pressure? 8 pounds? 5 pounds? 2 pounds a piece? 2.5 to 3 psi. All those carburetors end of state. Unless you're really throwing a lot of fuel through that engine, which you can't hardly. I mean, what you're going to end up your limitations are going to be your fuel time, your fuel line size. It's not going to be so much pressure. On the other hand, that big carburetor will take a little more fuel pressure, but they're still around 3 psi. Not any more. Now, if you're running alcohol or something, it might get totally different fuel. You have to put more fuel up. But pressure, no. They don't require it. A lot of people they don't think about that. They'll put a massive fuel pump in front of the car and put 10 pounds. And you can, but again, what's going to happen is you're going to flood your engine, or something's going to happen and you're going to end up with too much engine oil, or you're going to end up with too much gas and oil, or something like that. Unless you wired an interlock into it where it takes oil pressure, allow the fuel pump to work. But they do make fuel pumps, and they've got the little rotary inline pumps that produce about 2 psi. And they're wonderful. They don't put any draw on your battery hardly. Again, some of the things you think about, and more is better, and it's not. So, especially on these Volkswagen engines, fuel pressure wise, it's not a requirement. So, fuel filters. Fuel filters in the engine compartment. First of all, there has to be a fire. There has to be a way to make a fire. You have to have three from the fire department to make it work. You have to have heat, you got to have oxygen, you have to have fuel. That's the truth. Well, if that fuel filter stays solid, you don't have any worries. That piece of plastic is designed to probably, I'm going to say, about 600 degrees before it starts. Well, something's already caught fire in that engine compartment. That fuel filter didn't get wet. Something's already caught fire in that engine compartment. More than likely, what's happened is that little fuel inlet on that carburetor has come out, and it's spraying fuel inside there, and you got a plug wire that's sparking, or it gets down in there and it gets to the distributor enough to catch fire inside the distributor, which is not unheard of. Those are one of the big deciding factors, and bad fuel line. And I'm telling you, no matter, I've got German quality fuel line over here on the shelf. I pay a lot of money for it. I have it shipped in. That's what I put on all my stuff, put on all my customer stuff. It still goes bad. And I've seen it last a little longer, but I guarantee it, there's times I've been out somewhere and I thought I was getting good gas, but I didn't. But it was supposed to be non-ethanol fuel, but it ended up being, because that's the only reason why this fuel line was so bad. So, and I've replaced it. Even the USA makes stuff. It doesn't like ethanol. They've got some ethanol-based fuel. They've got some ethanol-based fuel lines that works. It's pretty good stuff. It's more expensive, but that's the biggest thing. Fuel fires is what catches them on fire, and then you get that magnesium burn, and you got quite a show, fireworks show. So, other than that, I've kind of covered pretty much everything that I can cover with you guys today without putting one together and running it. You guys got any questions? Anything like that? Talk about? Anybody have any other questions about anything I covered?
You talk about that check ball, a Solex cart.
Yeah.
That needs special tool.
Yeah.
What's that tool look like? And
Well, it's a specialty tool. It's not designed or made for that. The tool I have is not really designed or made for that, but I'll show it to you. It's just a little slide hammer is what it is, with the little bitty slide hammer with a screw on it to pull it out. And the thing about it is, I had one that was actually had a little miniature slide hammer that was designed for pulling the plugs, the metering well plugs out of water jet carburetor. And at one point in time, I didn't have the shop. I had all my tools. This toolbox this was my box that I've had for years, that I mechanicked out of for years. I had it at my office in town, in the shop in town over here. And one Christmas day, somebody broke into my shop, and I had two of those top toolboxes, just like those two, sitting on top of that. They had all my specialty tools. They got away with one of those boxes before somebody swooped them up. They broke into my shop. My dad's toolbox, which he passed away, been gone for about 9 years now, missing every day because he was a great guy. His toolbox happened to be up there, but the day before, a week before, I brought it home because I wanted to keep it in the house. So so they didn't steal that toolbox. But all my specialty tools, I had all my carburetor tools, all that stuff was in one of those tools, that toolbox that they cleared off. And they don't make those tools. So this is what I've gotten out of pull plugs out of carburetors. And it's kind of big. This is actually, I can't remember what they said this is. It's not a body cover. It's for something else. I can't remember what it's for. It's got a couple of different things you can put into this, but that's what I use to pull those screws. That little brass plug that's at the bottom of those carburetors. You get it screwed in there and give it a couple of taps. 9 times out of 10, that's all wrong with the carburetor. That ball's stuck, full of dirt. It's not moving. Either it's not off seat, it's not sealing, which is not giving you any squirt. So.
And then how do you seal the plug back up?
It just goes back in. It's
Same
just it's a press fit. Yeah, it's just a press fit. You put it back in there and you just give it a little tap, not a hard tap, just a tiny tap. And then before you put that carburetor back in service, you fill that float ball up and you check your squirt. Always. A lot easier to do that than put the carburetor back on the vehicle and have to take it back off to do that. So, but that's the tool. I can't think of the brand. It might be Kelly Moore or one of those Kentmore tools or something like that. Something else. Everybody's probably seen one of these. Yeah, well, this is it's the same thing. They work. Really don't work on one of these. I mean, you can flip it around and get an adapter. But the Weber's multi-throw carburetors, they're the steps are minimal. It's absolutely imperative to have one of these carburetors if you're going to get out there and do it.
Shows how much vacuum is pulling?
Yeah, shows you what vacuum flow, what your flow rate is through your carburetor. And they're pretty good. You know, what people understand is you can have 3 throats that are really close to each other, and one that's real high or real low. If the high one's high, you want to bring it down to match the other 3. Because chances are you're not going to hit those other 3 back up really well. So you always want to bring that high stuff down to match the other 3. So, or the other, which depends on what you want to do. But that's a pretty important tool. They're not expensive. They work pretty good. I've also got a manometer too that I can use. I don't use it as much, but
How much did one of those run for?
what's that?
How much did one of those run for that test again?
This year? I'm not sure. Maybe $30, $40, I think something. I'm not 100% sure. Not super expensive. They're not super duper expensive. You know, I was telling you about specialty tools to get to nuts on carburetors. If you don't have a set of these and you're running duals, you gotta get you a set. You're gonna work on it. You're gonna get you something that's on, especially back in time, especially on a 50-something model bug. That car is tiny. A lot of times they cut the tops of the Venturi stacks, the velocity stacks on those cars just to clear the hoods and all that. You really need to set a nuts in there and get some of that stuff on the carburetor. And that's just a set of offset wrenches is all it is. And metric offset. And then I've got, tons of different little weird special event tools that nobody's ever seen before, but they're Haslet tools. You're talking about the pull the plugs?
Yeah, I think that's special.
That's slide hammer. I use that slide hammer on the board. Yeah. That's the same thing. These are the ones now. Here's the thing. Pulling the plugs out of the galleys. I'll tell you something. The aftermarket cases have all got cap plugs in it, so it's not a big deal. It's not a super no-brainer. These, on the other hand, are all driven in plugs on these magnesium cases. There is one specific plug in this case. I'm going to see if you can hold this up. This plug right here has a restrictor on it. That restrictor feeds this bearing. 9 times out of 10, you get an engine bill, you get it back. Let's say that they knocked the plugs out, they've done everything, they've done it right, they've cleaned it, they've done everything. install and plug back up. So they don't put that restrictor back in. But then you got a little higher volume of your engine's great, and that's good, you just running great. Start swinging all out the switch. It's because that restrictor's on. And 9 times out of 10, when that restrictor's full, they tear it up and can't put it back. So it's still regular plug. So that's something to keep an eye on and kind of watch. You got to be real specific when you take these plugs out. Some of these are really thin plugs, and if you're not careful, you get into case. So you have to watch that. If you're going to pull those plugs yourself, you try to do that. This particular plug, I use a really tiny drill bit on, and I don't even drill all the way through it. I just drill down just enough to get the slide hammer started, and I'll pull it out. And 9 times out of 10, I try to reuse that plug because it's got the restrictor. I have yet. I'm trying to find a plug that would fit that would be the same size as the original plug that would be. So all it is it's just a tapered plug. That's what it is. And it goes in there and it tapers out at the end a little smaller. But it still fits in there, but it doesn't leave a complete hole. It's just a hole around the outside of the plug that it flows through, which that slows that oil down. Keeps it from slinging it out, building this cavity up, slinging it out, or building too much oil up in this cavity. I've seen a lot of engines come in, have that problem, and sure enough, open them up. So cleaning these ports, these galleys is really important. I've got super long wire brushes that I can run all the way through there. It's a double process. You end up usually stripping these down, soaking them. I've got a vat back here that I put them in. Clean them for a couple of days in the vat. Take them back out, brush them, swab them. Get them cleaned out where I think they're clean, and then go back into that, clean them again, and then if I take them over here and do any kind of machine work, I'm clean them the third time. So there's a lot to machine on these cases, and that's why a lot of times I tell people when they're just dead set on using their old case, I'd rather do a new case for them. It's just less labor intensive. I can do them. I've done a bunch of them. This one here, I think this is one of them. No, this one's actually not. This one's got 10 millimeter catch savers in it, and that's why I've held up on doing it, because I'm going to have to get some oversized 8s to put in it. So, this is a good case. So, yeah, pulling those plugs, you just have to be careful when they have really sharp drill.
They're no good after that.
What's that?
You have to buy new plugs.
Yeah, the plug. Yeah, you don't reuse the plugs. You tap all those holes. You tap them and then put them. Huh?
Where you get plugs from?
You can buy them. I mean, it's just like 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, 1/2 inch pipe plugs. They're usually Allen head plugs. I've got them sorted somewhere.
Can you get the plug with the resistor again or the restrictor?
I have yet to find that restrictor plug. I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to get one out of one of these cases that I can take to a buddy of mine and see if he can come up with something, or at least tell me some way, somehow or another. He's always into looking for obscure stuff, so he's come up with a lot of really cool stuff that I haven't really found. So I can hit him up and say, hey, look into this. And he does bolts and stuff. He's a bolt guy, so he comes up with some pretty obscure stuff at times. I mean, there's just little stuff like the spring washers, the little wavy spring washers. They're hard to find. They're real hard to find. And I generally, like I said, all my bolts and stuff, I've got three bolt suppliers that I buy them through. I don't buy from Fastenal. I buy from the people at Fastenal buy through. So if I need something in a pinch and Fastenal's got it, I'll go buy it. But otherwise, no, I try to go to the sources. And I'm not a big time guy, but they'll sell it to me. They get a kick out of being able to supply you with good stuff. So, but I've found sources for a lot of that stuff that I won't buy the kits. I'll just go ahead and source the stuff in myself and use them on my builds, and I know I got quality stuff. The 10 tubes, the 10 tube metric nuts and stuff like that. Most of that stuff they do is it's not the automotive grade fastener. It's the step below. It's what 8. I'm not sure what is the 8. What is the grade rating? 8.3 or something. It's 10 to an 8.3, something like that. But the 8.3 is the lesser grade, like a grade 5 would be for standard roll. And the 10 tubes are a little better quality. Stainless steel finish or nickel.
What about plug wire?
plug wires, I love stock plug wires myself. I really do. I like the plastic with phenolic ends on them. I like the nothing wrong with the performance stuff either. It's just they're a lot harder to get them to stay together. And you buy them already made up. It's a toss up whether the ends are going to stay on. The first time you pull them to change plugs and you've lost the ends, and you're like, great. And usually they stake them on there to the points where you can't hardly repair them. And hardly anybody anymore has the ends for the plug wires. So, but the stock plug wires, that's one of the things. I really, these are good. I mean, they're solid core wires. They're not radio suppression wires. They're solid core wires, but I like them. That's kind of, and they're, you got two that are one length and two to the other length, and it's not hard to figure out. So I'll never forget changing plug wire down on some of the HEIs, the GM HEI motors. Oh, and they would run them down over here and back to the back bumper and then back. I mean, it seemed like that, It was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I can talk about all those cars. How many Ford guys in here? So I don't want to upset anybody. How many Ford guys? Everybody Ford guy? A lot of Ford guys? I got broke of ever wanting to own a Ford. I was working commission. And I had this, I think it was a Mercury Marquis, all electric, everything in that car was I did the front wiring harness in the car. Well, I didn't fix the short. Got the new harness in. Got the car wash, so proud of myself. 3-4 years into being a crap mechanic on commission, I was that guy, I got that car out and got 2 blocks down the street, had that wiring harness smoked. And it took me a week to put that harness in. Guess what? Mark got to do that harness for free. So, and then after that, I just went, I hate Fords. I hate Fords. And at that time, it's funny because about 74, 75, they all got stupid on their wiring. Started using stupid connectors. All of them did. Dodge, Chevrolet, Ford. They all, and don't even get into the German stuff. I mean, you look at this stuff on these Volkswagens and you're like, what was these fools thinking? This is the fire waiting to happen. Bare terminals on a fuse box, and it's just, anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy some of the stuff to see. But yeah, stock plug wires. I mean, Taylor makes some good wires, the aftermarket stuff. You get into that exotic crap running mags and stuff, you can't buy that wire from Joe Hunter. That's the only, and if you put any other kind of wire on that mag, you probably wouldn't want to get close to it because it'd probably knock you down, So you literally take that mag, and I'm not done because I don't want to stop my heart, but you can just take that mag and do this with it with your hand, and it'll jump fire probably from here to that leg. And I mean, it's not a weak fire. It's like Frankenstein. You're like, no. So that's the cool thing about mag. But yeah, Taylor wires. Protronix makes a good kit. They're more expensive. Only thing about putting a Protronix kit in your distributor, you got to have a little knowledge of taking the old stuff out, putting the new stuff in, and gosh forbid that screw falls down in your distributor, and you're going to be falling distributor. I like to swap distributors, and it's easy. You can get an electronic distributor, keep one spare, and if one fails you, pop a new one in there, and it's good to go. It's not like a Chevrolet unless the drive comes up with it. And usually if the spring's in there, the drive's not going to come up with the distributor. It's going to stay put. So you can pretty much pop that distributor back in there a lot quicker than trying to put a set of points in one or change the plug out or change the electronic console out. It's always tell people to come run electronic distributor, you can run the car a lot. Put a spare distributor in the back. I mean, you start in there and shop together. I don't know. Anybody got any more questions that I haven't? I've tried to cover as much as I can that I can think of. You guys, anybody?
How about generator versus alternator?
That's another thing. They both, the alternators work great, but every vehicle I've got, you fire them up and you just let them idle. That light will stay on as long as until you rev them up a little bit. And once you rev them up, the light goes out. So, yeah, I don't know. The generators work pretty good, but you got that additional piece of equipment that's outside that generator. This predominantly known to fail. So, And I've seen them fail to where they'll just burn a battery plumb up. I mean, just lock and load. We're going to put as many volts as we can put into that battery, as hard as we can put it in there, and just smoke the battery. Of course, alternator can do that too, but most generally alternator fails the other direction to stop the charge. So I used to toss up. It's honestly back into pulleys and serpentine belts. That's something else I'd love to cover. A lot of people get the serpentine belts get bad rap, and I've got 2 or 3 people, and I'm not pushing any particular brand, but this is an MST. You guys have heard of MST products. They make an amazing setup. They make stock pulleys too. All their stuff's top quality, top notch stuff. This actually is going to be on that drag car engine. Everybody's like, you don't know, belt, serpentine belt on it. If, again, I haven't decided yet. I bought it for that. I may not even run a cooling fan or a generator or an alternator on that engine. I may just put some electric blowers on it or in between passes I can run some air over. Just not even mess with a generator or alternator on it. But I bought that for that reason. So if it doesn't end up going on that engine, we'll probably go up on one of the other ones. But the thing about it is power pulleys. That's another thing. 13 belts. I'm going to cover that first. One of the things about these is they have to be installed correctly. It's not a plug and play, just slap it on there and it works. It's usually not that way. Even a stock generator, when you get ready to assemble the generator to the fan housing, it's never perfect, especially on a new fan housing. You may have fan rub, it may not be lined up correctly with your pulley on your crankshaft. It's all physics. It's all simple physics. If those 2 pulleys are not in line, and you can't lay a straight edge ruler against that belt, and you're this way or that way, that a sheave pulley will take a little bit more of that, not being straight. Before an engine leaves here, when I build one, that's all straight, and I have to work a little bit to get that to work right. Same thing with these; it's the same difference. You got to make sure these are more specific. They don't take any deviation. They got to be straight and they got to be perfect. 9 times out of 10, people put one of these on their car, and they throw the belt off it before they even got down the street. They didn't line the pulleys up. And if you don't line the pulleys up and make sure all that stuff's in sync correctly, it's not going to stay on. That Sandcar motor up there has had a serpentine belt system on it before they even used to make it. I got one of the first serpentine belt systems that was ever built out of Southern California that's on that Sandcar motor. I've never thrown the belt off that car, ever. And it's had sand in it, it's had everything you can think. You never throw the belt. I personally don't have anything against these, but they have to be put on correctly. And when I say put on correctly, you take a straight edge. I don't know if I can do that. Let me see. I've probably got a straight edge here somewhere, but basically, these 2 pulleys, these flat portions here have to be exactly the same, in the same spot, perpendicular to each other. They have to be right in line. That belt's not going to run. Any RPM change is going to toss it off. Now they make this same system. They've got a tensioner, an actual tensioner, spring-loaded tensioner, which I've told Mary I got to have one. I'm going to try it because I love putting their products on my engines, and they're not any more expensive than the empty stuff. And the cool part about this is it's made in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I know right where it's made. It's made in Tulsa. So, and it's a good quality part. Mary and the guys up there are good people. So I like using good stuff, and I can get good stuff that works. And it's heavy duty stuff. It's not lightweight or flimsy. That's a good option for belt drives. Nothing wrong with running a stock V-belt either. Those work great too. Same thing. You got to be in line. If they're in line, they run perfect. They never have any problem. They don't chatter. They don't bark. They don't make all that racket. You get that belt straight, it's going to work. Something with any other thing you do that's got a belt on. Trying to think of anything else. You got any more questions? Anything you think of? Have I covered it? No, you're good. No, I'm good. That's how you figure stuff out, And there's a lot of little stuff like that. I don't know how many people come up. Mary will be the car shipper. Mary from MST will send somebody over and say, Mary told me to talk to you about my service. I can't keep the belt on. And I'm like, did you line the pulley? find the pulley belt. I said, "You want the pulley belt?" Well, no, I couldn't get that top pulley to line up. I said, "You know how to break the clamp loose on your alternator generator?" I didn't think about that. I said, "Yeah, that's what you can do. You got to get something in there that you can move it back and forth and get it lined up and tighten the clamp back down and you can get close." So sometimes you have to put shims or spacers behind the pulleys too to get them to come out and it will work. So, but still, it's one of those things you got to be able to see that, and that's a more precise system, and it has to be more precise when it's still using. So you look at any of these new cars that's got belt drives on, certainly belt, them belts are perfect. They're in the something's wrong with this, that they're off, and that's just the way they work. So that's another point for those. It half does one or the other, but if I'm running something I want to look stock, I'll run a center, shift pulley, with spacers and stuff. Just the standard belt. But alternators, I've got an alternator on that little 44 secondary. My wife's that's going in this car. I'm thinking about switching back to the generator and keep it still look like it's the original engine, which everything on the engine is the original. Distributor's not, and the alternator. Everything else is pretty much original. So, and everybody might say, "Man, you just put the generator back on it with the stock." I said, "Yeah, the rest of the cars are going to be pretty stock, so maybe so." But I'm one of these guys. I'll throw the auto stick starter on it and an alternator on it. That's my deal. You know? Now my Baja doesn't have an alternator on it. I'm kind of thinking about going to an alternator on it. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. The old generator goes bad. I'll probably go off. Other thing too that we might cover real quick is cooling fans. You guys know the difference in the cooling fans, correct? For the doghouse coolers, these doghouses are thicker, deeper, and there are two thicknesses of fans. There's the early fan, which is thinner. They'll go in here and they'll work. They won't cool the engine like they're supposed to. And then you have the thicker fan. I think it's a 28 and a 34 millimeter thickness, I believe. But they are definitely a thicker fan. I thought I had a cooling fan over here that I could show you guys. Yep, I do. Right here. This is the bigger. This is the doghouse cooling. And I may have an early cooling fan. You really can't see much difference there, but if I lay this next to a early fan, you can see the difference. And they don't interchange. Had some earlier. I try to keep them separated. I don't want them ending up on something that should. Anyway, there's definitely a difference in thickness. And the way they sit in the fan shroud too makes a difference as well. You see these balanced and TIG welded, and that's great. Have I seen one of these come apart in an engine all my years of building them? I've never seen one of these come apart. I've tried to make them come apart. I haven't had any luck yet. But again, I'm not saying being balanced. There's a lot of people say something about balancing is a good thing. They TIG them and then balance them. Not a bad thing. I mean, it's going to be less load, less, like harmonics on your bearings and your alternator and your generator. Is it going to help the cooling better? Probably not. But yeah, I tried to make one of these lock apart. I haven't had that luck. Now I've said that, I'm gonna have one swallow one. But yeah, so that's really important. The shims, you got a spacer or a washer that goes on the back side. Depends on where you need to set this. There's also very thin shims that go on the back of this. There always is going to be a thick washer on the back and a thick wavy washer on the front, period. And then you're going to have to shim from there. One of the things that happens when you put on the hub, I don't have a hub to show you. When the hub goes together, if you don't get this open and just right, it'll tighten down, but it won't be completely right, and it will come loose. So that's something you have to assume this, put it together for your finish up and check. That's just right. And some of these are a little tweaked when you get them. And it's just, you can look at them and see it and check, hey, that's a little tweaked. Bend it a little bit, and it's in this web area. It's manufacturing process. I may have not. But anyway, that's that. Recommendations to buy one balance. Yeah, it's up to you. I mean, I don't think, Sandbar Motor may have one. I may have a balance too. But that's the one I was saying I could probably make one thing or even so. Not saying they can't. I don't know that I've ever seen, I've never personally seen it. If you got something in it, tore it up really bad, it's happening. But the way these fit in the fan shrouds, doghouse fan shroud, there's a difference. And that sets in there a lot deeper. You put the standard, if you have a thin fan, one of the early fans, it's going to set back here like this. And it'll go in there, and it'll go in, not any problems. But that's where this thing should be sitting. So if you get an early fan and you don't know what you got, and you put it together in your fan shroud, it's back there like this, and you got a doghouse fan shroud, you got a problem. You got a problem in the fan shroud. So you've ended up with the wrong fan shroud for your car. And it does make a big difference. I mean, that little bit of extra thickness pushes a whole lot more air across that tube. So, in the end. Man, I think I've whipped this dead dog all I'm whipping. You guys got more questions. Again, anybody that would like to come back up sometime, see one of these engines on the stand running, and I'm more than happy to have you come out. You want to get out here and get your hands, I'll put you to work. I'll put some wrenches in your hand. So, but yeah, it's a pretty good deal. You know, there's a lot of experience. I've been building them for a long time, and I learn a few things every time I put one of them together. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that before. But yeah, it's just something I enjoy doing. It's kind of a labor of love for me to build these engines. And I tell people, that I'm not the fastest. I'm not going to be the cheapest. But if I build you an engine, you're going to be satisfied with it. So it doesn't leave here until I'm satisfied with it. I'll keep the car here. A lot of times I'll get cars here because the customer doesn't want to swap an engine themselves. And I prefer that to a point because when I put the engine in the car, all the quality control procedures that I utilize goes into that. And then I keep the car here and I make sure it's running right. I take it out, I break the engine in the way I want it broke in. And I mean, when I say break in, you put them on the stand, you run them at 2,000, 2,500 RPM to break the cams. But then the rest of the engine, once it's in the car, because I have no way to load the engine on the stand. I'm working on that. I almost bought an engine dyno here a few years ago, and I should have jumped on it and bought it. The guy that bought it said, you missed out. It was a nice one. And it was, I think he ended up giving like $4,500 for it. But it was a water dyno, and it was specifically made for those wagon engines. It was completely set up. To buy a brand new one's about $22,000. I'm not building up engines to $122,000. But I've got the knowledge. I could probably build a water dyno that I could load these engines on that would help me. Now, whether I'd be able to dial it in and get it to where I know what horsepower, all that, be a lot of figuring and a lot of math, but I'm sure it could be done. But no, that's the thing about it. I take the car and I get it in, and I put the engine in, and I control that aspect of it. I keep the car here for a couple of days, a week, whatever time I feel I need to keep it, and I get it dialed in the way I want it. And then when the customer gets it, they're like, man, this is great. So that's the thing about it. I like to keep them here. The last car that was here for an engine, I kept it 4 days. And I wanted to do a couple of cold start mornings on it, and it was cool outside. Let it sit outside, let it sit out overnight, cool off, so I can see how it's going to start in the morning cold. So that's important. To me it is. This carbureted engine, you can get them pretty good. You can't get them completely perfect, but you can get them pretty good. So that's kind of my mindset with them when I build them and stuff. And I have people that buy engines from me, and they take them and install them themselves too. So, and I'm not having any problems with that either. There you go. Like I say, the last Performance Build, the guy bought almost all the parts for the engine, and I would not do that without my supervision of what he bought. So, and he actually spent more money. If he'd come to me, I could have got him the same parts cheaper. So, because when I build an engine for somebody, I try to do mine on the parts. I'm not CB Performance, you know. And those guys, I mean, granted, they got some good stuff. They've all got good stuff. They all get their same stuff from the same places. I'm just telling you that. There's no magic to any of that. Empty,
Marketing.
yeah, if that's exactly, well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Those rods come in, this set of rods, they're the fancy 4.5 inch VW Journal rods, the light chromoly rods. They've got empty laser engraved into the side of them. That same set of rods from CB Performance has CB Performance laser engraved into the side of them. They come from the same, probably came off the same line right next to each other. But because CB bought them, they put CB's name on it. And that's how it works. It's pretty crazy. I've been approached by a couple of the wholesalers in China. But the problem with it is, if I'm going to buy from them, I got to buy 200 of whatever I'm buying. Whether it's carburetors or 200 rods or 200 cylinder heads, and that's fine if you're going to use, if you got a retail business and you're running volumes of work and stuff. I mean volumes of parts. I don't. So there's a few things that'd be nice to build. I mean, if I could get stock up on some carburetors and stock up on some of the other pieces, it'd be pretty nice. But other than that, you know, I just do what I do, and when the engine in, the part spot, we'll build an engine. Next one comes in, wiring harnesses. But I can pretty much get anything you need for Volkswagen. And I've got more than just one source. I've got certain sources for certain things that I like to go to, and that's where I buy my stuff from for my cars, because I like their products. They've got good stuff. I've got wholesale accounts with West Coast Metric. Wholesale accounts with Wolfsburg West. And you know, it's funny because a lot of the stuff that West Coast Metric sells, it goes into Wolfsburg West and has a Wolfsburg West name on it. But it comes from West Coast Metric because West Coast Metric makes it, doesn't manufacture. So there's a lot of that stuff in California that's out there. Again, I'm excited because MP's doing some more stuff. They're actually going back to manufacturing a lot of their bug pack stuff again. The bug pack stuff was kind of the performance off-road kind of stuff, and they had a lot of engine parts and crankshafts, and they're actually coming back out with some of that stuff again, and they're touting it. It's being made in California. They're actually manufacturing it in California. MP does all their machine work on their heads in-house. They have their own CNC equipment there in-house. So they bring the blanks in and bring the heads in, and they do their machine work on their machines in-house. So, and I think CB probably does too. So,
Is there a machine shop in Anaheim?
I think it is.
I've been at the distributorship there.
Yeah, I think it is. And I don't know. See, since JC's been doing a lot of their stuff, Jack's been doing a bunch of their stuff. He did that whole spiel of specialty, you know, racing parts. You know, the stuff that they've got, great quality stuff. And I don't know where he's at with that, but I know he kind of got into a situation where he just solely sells to them now. He doesn't sell to anybody else. And then he's doing Jack's building their long box. I say Jack is. I think Jack is. He's probably got somebody working for him that's doing them, but Jack knows what he's doing. I mean, that car is probably one of the fastest bugs in the country. So, you know, that his daughter drag races, and it's a beast of a car. Pat Downs' car, he's fixing to put another car out on the track. He's already set records with his last car. And this car he's building, it's not Volkswagen. It's not even near a Volkswagen. It kind of simulates a Volkswagen, but that's it. I mean, it's, you know, Autocraft block. It's astronomical, outrageous parts to these engines. And pretty crazy stuff. I don't even know now. He sent me a message the other day and said something about he was going to be out Texas driving. The Texas guys wanted me to come, and I said, "You bring that car with a new engine?" He said, "You ought to come down and see it run." I said, "I might just have to do that. Kind of peek at that and see what it looks like." But, I mean, you're talking probably $50,000 Volkswagen there. I don't know, probably. I mean, you can hit that Autocraft stuff. Some of the parts for my engine over there, I had to go through Autocraft to get. And it ain't cheap. Cylinder, valves for the heads, they ain't cheap.
Well,
They're not cheap.
earlier, he can spell wherever you want.
Yeah, that's right. So, you know, it's just fun. It's just fun. Go take it out and tear it up. You know, first time you take it out, you tear it up. It's expensive money. But no, it's like I say, they're really cool engines. They're neat, lots of neat stuff to really investigate on them and learn and doing a stock engine. There's cool things you can do with a stock engine make them really run good, make them run better. I just enjoy tinkering with them. It's kind of my passion. I love them. I mean, I got too many of my own. I stay behind all the time. When Mama's bus goes down, it gets put ahead of the line. Everything gets fixed on it. It needs to be going because she's always renting it out and doing stuff with it. But it is how it is. My other car sits sometimes. And I hadn't started that Baja up in probably 5 months. It sits over there in the shop, in that end of the shop. And I fired it up yesterday, and the guys, a couple of the board members were out here from the club, and I got it out and went out in the field and had to rip her around a little bit, come back, and I said, "Man, you need to try that thing some more." I said, "Yeah, it's still running pretty good." I mean, I got tracks all the way through the field over there where I just ripped the grass out of the ground all the way through the field out there, But yeah, it's cool stuff, fun stuff. And it's fun to just get in them and drive them and have fun because you can't go anywhere if somebody doesn't have a Volkswagen store. It's just cool. I mean, it really is cool, And I got a really great honor, and I'm probably gonna get a little upset about this, but 2 years ago, Tim Lerman was here. He's an amazing photographer. He took pictures for our shows every year, for our boat shows, our Volkswagen shows. First year he had the chance. He always comes down here on a Friday night, Thursday night, Friday night before the show. He stays here with us. We were like brothers. He died of COVID a month. I think it was a month after he came and shot our engine build class 2 years ago. And I still feel like he's here with us a little bit. But he's missed, And I got the greatest honor. His wife, I've got a 69 square back station wagon sitting over another building. It's folded and slammed, and it's rusty, and it's an old Florida car, and I think I dug 10 pounds of beach sand out of it when I bought it. So anyway, long story short, he loved that car, and every year that was his car. He'd drive out to the show. We'd leave out of here, before daylight to get to the show to set everything up. He'd jump in that car. He said, "That's my car." Told my wife, he says, "If Mark dies, that car is mine. I'll kill anybody for it. I've licked the door handle. It's my car. My DNA is all over that car." So long story short, when Tim passed away, his wife called Angela and said, "Tim would love for Mark to give him his last ride." So we give Tim his last ride. I hauled his casket from the church to the cemetery, and that was it. So, and that car's not been out since then. Tough, I love that old car, but now it's like, dang, how do you pop? How can you kind of get over that? But he would have been tickled. So, did you know Tim? Tim was a good guy. And he took some amazing photographs of cars. He just was amazing at what he did. And he just come down here. I think I traded him some stainless steel fender protectors for the back of his Bug. He said, "Just trade me those. That's all you got to do for me to shoot the photos." And I said, "Are you kidding me?" He said, "No, I'm serious." I said, "Okay, they're yours there." But yeah, Tim was a good guy. But he was here 2 years ago, and he took some really neat pictures. There's pictures on the website that he took last year. All of our photos from all of our shows, 2 years past, from 2 years back, he took all the photos. And he took some real neat photos. A lot of his photos ended up in magazines and stuff like that. So, and every year, you guys, I don't know how many of you guys are thinking about planning on it, possibly making the trip. If you've got a trip, but to make it very far, Old Boat Show's coming up in September. And Shin from Hot VW's magazine will be here again this year. Last year his dad passed away and he wasn't able to be here, but he sent Stefan Santi here, and Stefan not only did our annual yearly show in Hot VW's, but he also put us in international magazines. So the club got international exposure overseas to Belgium and Europe. And I've been getting tons of hits on my webpage and all that stuff. The club's crazy on people from overseas joining, and it's pretty crazy. But, and Stefan was pretty good about that. He was a pretty good deal. But
Yeah, that overseas stuff.
it's pretty crazy. They're serious. I mean, I had a guy. Somebody says, "Well, what's the next vehicle you'd like to buy?" I really don't want another one, but man, if I had a split bug come up, and I had one about 5 years ago, came up, and we just bought something. We bought another car or something, and my wife said, I showed her the picture. She said, "No, you're not, and you're not going to Sweden to pick that. You're not going to Belgium to pick that car up." And I'm like, "Ah." Well, a buddy of mine in Texas bought that car, and he told me the last time I saw him, he said, "You should have bought that car." And it was an all original car. Oh, it was slick. It needed some work, but it was an all original split load. I mean, it was pretty. The paint on it was really pretty nice for as old as it was. Interior was going to need just a tiny bit of work. Engine probably in fairly good shape. Brakes and stuff had to be on for it. It was a neat car. I think about 5 years, 26,000 what they were asking for. It cost me another probably 3 to 4 to get it shipped. And we had just bought something. I don't remember what vehicle we bought, but we bought something. Angela said, "Oh no, you're not buying a car." So anyway, yeah. Well, and she's the one. Look at here. See this one? I'm like, "Are we making a trip?" "No, I'm just shy." "No, really? Are we? No, we're not making trips." Okay.
Then don't show it.
She's on the hunt. She watches for them some too. I mean, we've been pretty lucky. We've had some pretty good deals dropping our lap, but and then we've had some dookies dropping our lap too, so some pookers, some pooches. But yeah, for the most part, we've been pretty fortunate about it. But that's the thing about it. 2013, I started building all this stuff and sent both my girls to OU, and they graduated from college there and have done very well for themselves. My son's in the military, and now, I finally got my shop to where I like it, and I can get out here. I'm just really particular about stuff, and I work on my own stuff. If I can't fix it the way I want to fix it, I don't fool it. I'd rather not. I just leave it stay broke. If I can't fix it the way I need to fix it, the way I want to fix it. And I'm the same way with these engines. If I can't build them the way I want it, or it doesn't go together the way I like it, it's going back apart. But I put it together, and it's the way I see that it needs to be. So that's one of the things about it is it's. I tell my kids, my daughters are artists. I mean, they're amazing. I can draw stick people. That's about all I can do. These kids can do amazing stuff with art. And the girls say, "Well, Dad, you are an artist. You do this stuff." And I say, "Yeah, it's a little different. It's left brain, right brain, whatever it is. It's not artistic. It's mechanical." Anyway, you guys have any more questions? Yes.
Manual transmission was the full
Say that one more time.
and those full
Yeah, absolutely. As long as it's standard transmission, we're talking about we're fixing to go to Eureka Springs. We're gonna tow something up behind the motorhome. I've got a stacker trailer out there. We usually take from cars to shows on the stacker trailer, and it's 13 foot 2 inches tall, 29 foot long. It's a monster. And again, I can't go anywhere with truck stops with my bus anyway. But we just went to Florida to see my son, and we put my wife's sod on the Podog. Oh, that's the deal. That's just great. Roll in there, back that car off there, go get your thing. It's perfect. So she was talking about saying, "Well, could we drag my bus up there on it?" I said, "Yeah, but I'm always worried about the gear reduction process. And it's not the transmission, it's the gear reduction process. And the bus doesn't run at 62, 64 mile an hour. Well, I drive about 72, 74 mile an hour with motor on it. So that might be a problem. So I don't know if we're going to drag the bus up there or not. But it's definitely a standard transmission. Well, and people. Yeah, and that's mine. Mine will get about 7.5 days. Yeah, you don't need to. I mean, it just depends. Most of the time, I'll run about 60 days. That's what I run. That's where my mark's running out about 60 days. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't see why you couldn't. And tow barn above, you can tow barn one, not even put it on the dolly, and just tow barn. The only thing that you run into, I had a buddy of mine that drove this Beagle to California. for a car show. And he totaled it. And they got about somewhere in Arizona, a wheel bearing, back axle bearing went on the car. He had to fix that. So, I mean, it wasn't matter that they just keep going. He had to fix it. So, you run into that you could actually get into a situation. These newer model cars, I mean, not too much to worry about the back end of them. All these vehicles are four-wheel drive. They can't be front towed. They're flat towed. You got to do all this stupid crap when you're driving down the roads. We don't like that. I'm always hunting cars that I can get away with that. That slot, that's perfect. You know, that's a perfect car for that. And we've already tested her out. It worked pretty good. But I mean, most of the time we'll go to a show and I'll take 2 cars because I've got a lift in my trailer. I put one car on the lift, raise it up, and put another car under it. And then we'll take 2 cars. But I don't know. I get tired of driving that big old Shaggy around. So it's like pulling a semi trailer. And I'm already driving a near the semi truck anyway, more. So it's just that 6 hours and I'm ready to go find the Walmart parking lot and sleep. That's what we do, man. I mean, if we're going wherever we're going, I tell everybody, if you do any of that, whether you fifth wheel, motorhome, whatever you're driving, it's a camper, whatever. Man, there's a lot of Walmarts between here and wherever you're going, and a lot of them will let you stay the night. I always wonder if they got a Murphy and they got diesel. I'll buy diesel from them, or go in there and buy some Hot Wheels or something. But I wish my Volkswagen were just Hot Wheels. I'd probably be a lot better shape.
You know, we travel a lot. We used to stay at Walmart's.
Yeah.
Now we stay at Cracker Barrels.
Well, you can too. We actually went down on our way back from Florida. On our way back from Florida, they didn't really have a parking space for us to stay, and it was in a little town of Louisiana. My wife wanted me to go see New Orleans. I've never been to New Orleans, Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
And we went over on Tuesday night, so it wasn't all that crazy or anything like that. But we went and stayed in the Cracker Barrel parking back behind the Cracker Barrel parking lot. Unloaded the Scott, drove across Great Pontchartrain, which that's just crazy, 20-something miles away on the park. You can see. Got over there, did that, went to Bourbon Street. Reminded me of the State Fair of Oklahoma's Midway at midnight. So it seemed like it smelled like it, stunk like it. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. But yeah. Yeah, there's some pretty cool places, but that's kind of, I mean, if we're going to go somewhere and take cars, we want to take a couple of urban. I had a trailer before I bought this one. I had a 38 foot triple axle that I could put in 2 cars. And I had a 42 foot motor home. And that's what I did with that trailer.
Dang.
And my wife, we went to the Balloon Festival, took 2 cars up there, buses and balloons and car show in Albuquerque. And we went down right down to the middle of Albuquerque down there. And she just over there shutting her eyes. She said, man, if you hadn't driven trucks all the years, I would just be scared to death. And I had that big trailer behind me on them. Not that I didn't want to do it all the time, because I ain't no truck driver. I'm not driving trucks. I've done enough of it working on them, but I wasn't over the road. I mean, I'm driving trucks. And now, that's the crazy thing. They're all automatics. You don't have to shift them. You don't have to do nothing. I was in the time, you had a 13-speed road range, and if you missed a gear with 80,000 pounds on
You were
the
12
truck,
years
you
away.
over the stop. You start back over. You want to catch them. Back in the day. Now they all got automatics.
Well, I don't know about everybody else, but I really appreciate you doing this.
Well, I think probably what we can do, thanks guys, I appreciate it. I enjoy doing it. I think one of the things we probably could do is we're thinking about splitting it into 2 classes, so there's not as many people. And it's not a problem. I mean, I don't know how many we had here today. We had quite a few. And it stayed pretty cool in here. It's not been super uncomfortable. It's definitely not as hot as it is outside. I always worry about that having classes here and stuff. But other than that, I mean, I think the first few of them we've done really close to you when we built up the company, because there's a lot of people that had questions. And I'd answer questions. We get time to I'll answer questions. I don't think Bill. And I mean, I kind of had some stuff staged here today to be able to show you a little bit more. We didn't actually put a few things together. But the thing about it is I'm open for ideas. You know, I like good things. And everybody says, well, man, you're just taking business away from yourself. And I said, no. I said, if people want to learn something and they want to build an engine, a lot of times they come to the class and they're like, no, I don't want to build an engine. So, and that's okay too. And again, you know, somebody comes to me and buys all the parts of the build engine, I'll help them. I'll do whatever I can to help them do it. I can't put the engine together for you. You're not paying me to, but I can give you tips and pointers to say, well, you need to do this or do that or whatever. But that's the cool part about it. They're neat engines, and yes, like I said, they're so versatile. They put them in aircraft. I mean, it's just all over the place what they do with them. I've even seen some of these that they take two of the cylinders and make an air compressor. Have you seen those?
Yes.
Two cylinders and the other two cylinders are the air compressor.
They lock off. Yeah, they
Yeah,
put a blade on it.
yeah, and it's an air compressor. I'd love to just get one of those engines so I can play with it and see what it's all about. But I love that stuff apart. Never been my thing. I got a story to tell real quick. When I was about, I guess I was about 6 years old, my mom had these antique cookie clocks, all kinds of different sizes and shapes. Nothing really big or loud, just medium, not large, but medium sized clocks. She's always going up and down and seeing buying this clock shop and doing these stores. I got this wild hair going out until we parked. And I did. I took it all apart. My dad never got on to me. He was a tinker. He wasn't a mechanic by trade. There was not anything that man would not take apart projects. He just was that way. And 9 times out of 10, he fixed it. Man had an 8th grade education as far as he went with mathematician. He could run numbers on you faster than you thought he could. I never could understand how he did that. But that's how his mind was. But fixing stuff. We get back to the clock deal. We're doing the clock, and I've got this thing all apart. I get it all put back together for an exception, maybe for a or whatever. My dad takes the clock shop. I'm there with him. He takes it. He is a clock guy. And first, talk about the business. Here we go. Go back up and pick the clock up. Clock shop. Clock guy says, we put this back together. He looked up. He did. I need to hire him. So that was my stab at taking a clock apart. But I've never cut another one apart since. A lot of too many gears in there. And I'm not done. I'm not done too much. I'm not too much on that transmission. Not that I'm not ever. I've built a couple. I've built one on my hand. But I'm not really done too much transmission. All that. Another fun. Just didn't really school and run that far. I'm not a woodworker. I can saw stuff. I can run a saw, cuts. I'm not a woodworker. Stuff don't come out right when I do it. A little short. That's 16th inch short.
Raise the place, cut one.
You know,
Yeah.
a little warp there. You know, you can count for that warp. I'm like, so yeah, I'm not a woodworker. I work on stuff and mess with cars. I can weld a little bit. I'm not a coach that welds by any means.
That's why God created the grinder, because he knew I was
Well,
well
there you
one
go.
day.
There you go. I got a buddy of mine that he is, when it comes, I'm engines, he's a welder. He's welded engineer stuff, and he's just that good. And he's just amazing. He can do that stuff, and you're just like, how do you do that? You know? And so anytime I'm welding something weird or exotic in my TIG, I'll say, hey, having a little hiccup here. Well, set your machine to this and do this. What are you using? Chlorinated tungsten? Which tungsten are you using? You know, I'll tell him, well, that's what's wrong. You need blah, blah, blah. And I'll get right over there. There it goes. Perfect. So that's a button. You know, and weld that. I can do it. I can fabricate, but I'm not a coach. I'm welding that stuff work, but I'm not a body. I'm not a body.
So do you do your body work here?
A little bit. It just depends on what it is. If it's straight sheet metal, I'm not having to cut a bunch of stuff up and do that kind of stuff. I can do that, but again, it's not my money.
I don't do farm that out.
I usually do in paint too. I pretty much do everything else. I love wine. I do all the wine.
Now, when it comes, like let's say you wanted to rewire your phone, you know,
Right.
paint You know, there's several companies out there that have pre-made.
You know, it really depends on what you're after. You want to stay back and forth. You kind of want to go that route, and you want to get those skillful schematics and try to figure out what's going on with that car. And not to say that Painless and the rest of them. There's some other companies that are yes.
Yeah.
This truck here's got I've got a I don't know if it's Painless or one of the other ones. I got pushing fuses. I got mini pushing.
Yeah, they got a new kit out. All pushing
I got
fuses.
mini pushing fuses. The blades are I don't have last in that truck. And I love that new fuse fan. I don't remember the company.
I saw
all pushing. It takes the place of the kind of
Plus,
plug
fit
and
your stock spot. too.
yeah, yeah, almost plug
Yeah,
and play.
they pick
And I-
the exact size.
I would say it probably is a good idea. I think it's a good idea to have that. I honestly, it's depending on what you're going to do with the car. If you're not so worried about it being so pure and original, and some of the other kits are good kits. Paint's makes a pretty good kit.
We use Rebel.
Pardon?
Rebel.
Rebels another one. Rebels another one. And most of them you label, but the problem with some of those kits is they're all thinking it's all up front. They don't think about everything being up front. And it's all extra long to go to the back of the car. But it's really, see, you got to kind of adapt it a bit. But most of it's labeled and wired. I had a guy that did